everyone, and welcome to the SavvyCast. Whether you're watching on YouTube or listening to the podcast, I am so grateful that you're here today. I have a very special guest, and I'm so excited about this episode. I love beautiful things, and I love books, and I love food. I love ideas for the home, and we are going to hit every one of those today with my guest. I have with me Ruth McKeaney, and she is joining us from Pennsylvania. Ruth, hello, and thank you for being with me today.
Absolutely. This is fantastic. Thank you.
Before we dive in, I want you to introduce yourself, but I just want to share with everyone how I found out about you. I believe you just messaged me and said that you had a book that you had just written and would I like to look at it? So I just said, yes. I had no idea what it was about. Well, I got this, and I'm going to hold it up for my YouTube friends right here. When I got this, I thought, oh, this is nice. And, I opened it. And when I went to the inside cover, you had me at the inside cover, Ruth. This is the most unbelievable spread of just charcuterie. But then I started flipping like a few more pages, and I told my husband, okay, for all my YouTube people, that is where Ruth lives now. I said, Zane, I'm 4 pages into this book, and I am obsessed. This is one of the most beautifully photographed, written, curated books I've ever seen. So I can't wait to dive into your book, Hungry for Home, A Year Together at Hillside Farm. Ruth, tell everyone, introduce yourself. Tell us about you and your family, where you live.
Okay, so my name is Ruth McKeaney, and before getting married, I was a criminal prosecutor, and then I went on to the Attorney General's office. My husband and I moved up to Pennsylvania right after we got married about 20 years ago, and shortly after arriving, I was pregnant, and we began to flip houses. So it started from a place of necessity. We needed to get into an ownership of houses. We began to just flip. Every 18 months we would move. I have 5 children. Every child's been born in a different house.
Oh my goodness.
So it has been a very long, 15 years that we did that. So
okay. Well, Ruth, let me just say, I know the flipping, I would love to start there because I did read in the book about the flipping and how you did that. Now, that is very foreign to me. We've never flipped a house, but I know that there are people who absolutely are enthralled by that, intrigued by that. Tell us about, okay, you've told us you had a child in every home. What was the 18 months? Was there a rhyme or reason to that?
Yeah, there's tax reasons. You don't want to sell it. You don't want to completely complete a sale before 2 years because of capital gains. So there was a reason we put it on the market at the 6 months time so that we'd close at the 2-year mark. So that's why we kept up with that.
Okay. Now, is the capital gains, is that a federal thing, or was it just specific to Pennsylvania?
I mean, Pennsylvania for sure, I know, but.
Okay. Wow.
So yes, if you didn't want to pay so much on your profit, you needed to wait.
Well, let me just ask you, because Hillside Farm, which is your current residence, it's absolutely breathtaking. But the homes that you flipped leading up to Hillside Farm, were they all, I know not on such a grand scale, but were they as charming and delightful at the end as what you're in now? Because you obviously have a talent.
Thank you. Well, I don't know if you've been to Philadelphia, but it's a very historic area. So each of the houses that we've purchased were all well over 100 years old. So we were starting with homes that had a great deal of character and bones, so to speak. Whether it be the curb charm, or inside the house. So that to us was most important. Otherwise, you might as well tear down a house and start over.
Okay. So you always had a historic home. I know here in Birmingham, in certain districts, they will have those signs that, like placards that say historic home.
Yes. So our house right now is 305 years old. So it was before, the revolution, which is a crazy thought, right? I mean, William Penn deeded our house to the first owners, and we're the 4th people on the deed. So every family kept it for 100 years, which is crazy.
Wow.
This house in particular was quite a labor of love because it was so old, and a famous architect had bought it in 1900. So people were watching to see what we did with the house. It's been in a number of books. It's been in house tours. So we were very careful to maintain the integrity of the house while we.
Now, how did y'all get this house? I would think that there would be many people trying to buy it.
So there were, the process is my mom had died, and I wanted a place that had a guest house for my father. And a friend had been actually looking at this property for an investment. It basically should have been condemned. I mean, we had some trees growing into the third floor, and it has 2 guest houses. The guest houses alone are 100 and 200 years old. So, I mean, our basement was dirt. Some of the chandeliers were still candle chandeliers. So it was old. When we got it, because of the tax law, it was considered a multi-family dwelling because of the 2 guest houses. And so banks weren't giving out for whatever reason, the loans weren't the same. So it fell through twice for other people. We were blessed because somebody had left a letter in our mailbox at our last house and said, I will pay you whatever you ask for your house.
Wow.
So we were able to come into this project. We offered them half of what they were asking, and they said yes. And we closed on both within, I think it was 2 weeks, they both wanted to close.
Ruth, may I ask you this? How long had it been that someone had lived in the home?
Okay, so somebody was living on the 3rd floor on a mattress on the ground. She had sold anything not nailed down. Windows were broken through the house. There was feces everywhere from animals. And she was on the 3rd floor on oxygen. It was the architect's granddaughter. And it was actually heartbreaking. She had even sold all of the shutters on the house. I mean, anything not nailed down. And those were nailed.
Wow.
But when we were closing, we were contacted by the grandnieces and nephews of Oki, who's the architect who lived here in 1900. And they said, may we see the house before you buy it? They all flew back on our closing day just to walk the property and tell us how they churned butter in the kitchen and how they had grown up coming here 80 years ago. And we then had his granddaughter back after we had fixed it, and she just wept through the house and thanked us for not having torn it down or, in any way distilled the integrity of her father or grandfather. So.
Right. Well, I would encourage anyone to buy this book if you love beautiful architecture, gardening. I mean, it is exquisite. I told Zane, I said, this must be what heaven looks like. It is just exquisite. It's exquisite. The grounds and the stone. You obviously maintained everything that was maintainable, that just anything that you could keep. The stonework.
You've seen the stones. So we have stone walls everywhere, and they had fallen. Some of them had fallen. It looked like a battle had taken out. So we had to rebuild the stone walls. I mean, it didn't look like the book. Let me put it that way. To do the grounds justice, it's taken us time. It's sleep, creep, leap, right? Isn't that what it is for flowers?
Yeah. Okay, Ruth, so what year did you obtain the property?
2010.
2010. So when did you get it to this state that it's in?
Okay, the house itself and not the guest houses. It took us a year to where it was completely livable. I mean, we had to take every pipe out of the house, every electric wire out of the house. Like I said, it was a dirt floor in the basement. My brothers came home from college and dug it out for us. I mean, it was just a complete labor of love. So
your family did the lion's share of all the work.
We paid for an electrician and a plumber, but my husband did the carpentry work. It was the first house I hired a painter for, because in the past I've done the painting and the wallpaper. But in this house, I said, I'm done. My kids at this point were, I had 5 kids between 5 and 12. So it was a little crazy around here.
Yeah.
And then we had the Amish build the kitchen. But other than that.
Oh, I love that. Oh, we are getting a lot of the furniture that we're carrying to the farm, the Adirondacks and so forth, from the Amish here. And I think they're in Mississippi, but they are such wonderful work, such detail. But let's just start. And just this discussion cannot do it justice. So again, I encourage everyone to buy this book to see how, literally this would be the most beautiful bed and breakfast or resort. But are y'all planning on living here forever?
Well, we have continued to flip houses, even though we've lived here. It's just we aren't living through the rehabs. Yeah, here's actually a picture of the barn. You can kind of see it.
Oh, yes. And that's actually not for animals, correct? It's a gathering space.
The gathering space. So we have company all the time, and our heart really is to gather and to bring people in. And we needed a space for that didn't put so much pressure on the house, if that makes any sense. So there used to be an enormous, this was a dairy farm, but there was an enormous barn. And apparently back in the 50s, he had fired the caretaker who burnt it down. I've been told by people who lived here that people would come for miles just to watch it burn. It was so big. But what happened was half of that barn was stone. It all fell in. So we built the new barn on the ruins. So we left a lot of the stone ruins. So.
Okay. Well, the barn in itself is something that I keep looking at because there is a small barn on our farm, and I'm thinking, ooh, I want to make a small version of that. It's fabulous. You've got a long table, correct?
So
And don't you have,
build me a table for 32. It goes
Mhm.
straight down the center. We've got sheepskin that line all the seats to keep it comfortable. It's just been fun to find things that, set it apart from a normal barn.
Okay, so let's just talk about how the one thing that strikes me when I look through this book and just at all the different rooms of your home, it's so welcoming, it's so warm, it's so inviting, and it's every room has something different. It's like nothing you've seen. It's not like, oh, this is transitional style or this is this. It's just got such character. Did you do all of this yourself, Ruth, or did you have a decorator?
No. So, and a lot of my friends have decorators, and I would go into their houses and say, okay, it's gorgeous, but where are you? Where are you?
Yeah.
I put yourself in it. And I think because we have flipped so many houses,
Yeah.
developed my own style. I think you and I were talking earlier, like, what are your favorite shops? I don't think I can answer that because I can go anywhere. I can go to a flea market. I can go to a garage sale. I mean, in the years when we didn't have anything, Bob and I on Saturday mornings would take the kids in strollers and go to different estate sales and kind of collect things. So I've just developed, what do I like? And that's what I encourage people. Like, what do you love? Now build around that.
Okay, so I'm just going to ask you on a practical level, is there a certain paint color that is because you flipped so many homes? I mean, that's a huge deal to most people. Is there a go-to palette that you have developed over all of these years?
Well, in my kitchen, as you can see, my palettes are different colors of whites and creams. And then
Mhm.
I let my rugs or my paintings speak for themselves. So I have a few children who are artists, and I have framed their artwork all over the house. So I love when you have things that tell a story. And
Mhm.
so everything we have, whether it's paintings or, anyway, everything has a story. So, but palettes, I stay a lot with neutrals, although I will tell you, I have recently painted both of my pantries like a dark navy blue.
Oh,
I have a linen closet on the second floor that I have done in lacquer red. So it's fun to make something pop out a little differently. I love wallpapers. So the rest of my house has a lot of wallpaper. But as far as paint colors, I tend to go more neutrals.
what's your favorite white, or what are a few of your favorite white?
Love white.
Duff white. That's pretty across the board, beautiful in any environment, isn't it? The navy, because I see that from behind. What navy is that? It is beautiful.
Gosh, I wish I knew off the
Oh,
top of
that's okay. I mean,
I'll let you know what navy that is. It is stunning. And I mean, yeah, it's
I
beautiful.
was about to say some people who see the video will be asking, so I'm going to get you to share that. Okay, now I can tell by the red knobs you've got is that a wolf?
Mhm.
Okay. I did read in the book that in every house that you've ever lived in, you have insisted
On a fireplace.
on a fireplace in the kitchen. Okay. That is intriguing. Please tell me why.
Because to me, the kitchen is the heart of the home. And I love fireplaces. We have 3 fire pits outside. I mean, there's 7 fireplaces in our house. But the kitchen to me is where we congregate all the time.
Mhm.
And it feeds my soul. So in every house we have done, I have made my husband put in a fireplace in the kitchen. There was one, there wasn't even enough counter or wall space. So I had him build a brick one up to the ceiling from the counter. So it looked more like a pizza oven, but it was
Yeah.
nice. So I
And
love it.
when you say fireplace, you don't mean gas logs, you mean a fireplace.
I've done both. I've done both.
Oh,
Like
okay.
now in our house, because it's connected to a different flue, it's gas, but it looks very, very real.
Okay, now another thing that I've loved about all the different rooms in your home are your rugs. Your rugs are exquisite. Now, you have so many, and I believe you said on every landing you've got, tell us about your rugs. They look antique to me.
They're all from estate sales or garage sales, all of them.
Wow. So, but they,
I have thrown in, I have a number of hides as well. So in my living room, take for instance, I have an Oriental rug and then I have a hide on top of that.
love that.
So,
So every rug was from an estate sale. Now, I guess you've had these throughout the years.
yes.
Okay, so
It takes time. Like I am a firm believer in don't just go out and buy stuff just to fill your house. Do it slowly until you get exactly what you're wanting.
I've got to tell you, one of my favorite pictures of your home is that stunning pink toile wallpaper. Is that a toile? It looks like a toile.
It's in my dining room.
Yes. Okay. And I just consider a toile anything with people and animals, but it may not be. But it's absolute. I was just thinking, I would love to have that somewhere in my home. Tell us about that. And let me see if I can find it.
Yeah, see if you can find it. I found it in my searches and I love it because it makes a statement. Sometimes you just want your walls to make the statement. Sometimes you want your rug to make the statement. Take for instance, since doing that book, I have redone my half bath and it is the craziest wallpaper with a dark green trim. And I am in love with my half bath, but it just take your time. I'm trying to think if I can find the picture for you.
Oh, here it is. Here it is. Okay.
Yeah, that's my dining room.
Okay, I am going to figure out a place to put this. Now, is this a wallpaper anyone can purchase, or is this something special that it?
Anyone can purchase. I think what I just did in my half bath is a special wallpaper, but this is anyone can purchase. And I can send you that information as well.
It's just exquisite. So you've picked everything, and then like this arched doorway. Were all of these existing?
Yes. So that's
Wow.
that. So when the architect bought the house 100 years ago, one of his what he's known for is arches. And so he redid this house and added a lot of arches, which I love.
Beautiful. Okay, Ruth, tell me also, I'm looking at your outdoor space. What is the TP that has the lights on it? That looks so fun.
So we have a store called Terrain. It's owned by Anthropology. It's probably, if I had a go-to outdoor space place, even some indoor things, it's called Terrain, Terrain. And when you're on their property, one Christmas, they had built this teepee with these, I want to say they're 21-foot tall pieces of wood and wrapped it in lights. And they had a fire pit in the center. And I came home and I said, I want that. But I'm all about spaces. So I am always looking to create a space for people to congregate. So we were having an event at our house that evening. And this huge semi comes with all this wood. And my husband gets home from work and he's like, what's with the sticks that are like 30 feet? I said, you need to build me a teepee. And he said, when? And I said, by 6 o'clock. So
Stars.
he had his computer outside and he was trying to figure out how to build a teepee and then he just wrapped Christmas lights all around all the posts.
Okay, he must be something else. He looks like the nicest person in the world. And I mean, I'm married to I can spot nice because my husband's the same way, but Bob looks amazing. And he obviously is beyond talented.
Well, you and I were talking about something and you said, what did you learn in the process? And I think what Bob taught me was here we went from not knowing how to do any of this. And he had no fear of failure. And so he just constantly was willing to learn. He was willing to learn how to use every kind of tool. He was willing to learn how to hang crowd molding. I mean, he tried and failed and tried and failed. And what I love about him is he has grit and he never stops. So, one thing that Bob and I would do before each project is we would go to a bookstore and we would look at all the magazines and we would sit down in a chair with coffee and we would say, what is a non-negotiable item for you? What is non-negotiable for me? Because at that point, then you can go, okay, now the rest we can work through, but I will respect what's so important for you and you will respect what's so important for me. Like take, for instance, in my kitchen right now, those 2 fridges back there, those Subway fridge, those were non-negotiable for me. And Bob said, well, they could buy like a new car. I said, but they're non-negotiable for me. Stuff like that I was like, listen, if we're going to stay here and we entertain like we do, that's important.
So, and I can tell by the pictures you entertain often. You've got a large family, but who are these friends from church, from work, just from the community? Like, I have no concept of how your space, you're not in a neighborhood, obviously.
Well, you'd be surprised. I mean, you have our 13 acres, but there is a large neighborhood around it. We just can't see them.
Oh, okay.
So it's in an amazing location because you can drive into here and feel like you've escaped all of the world, and yet it's still out there. But I am part of a huge family. I mean, we've had 2 family reunions here of 140 to 150 people for several days. So those people were always coming in and visiting. We have, my kids are athletes, so I always have their sports teams here. We have all the prom parties, the homecoming parties. We have church parties. I mean, it's, the kids were involved sometimes in Young Life. So it might be a Young Life gathering. And then I like to throw dinner parties.
Okay. Let's just dive into the food, because after you get through all of these beautiful, it's just replete. The whole book is, there's either something for the home or food interspersed, but let's get to the food. First of all, when you're entertaining like that, are you cooking all the food, or do you ever ask someone to bring anything?
There are times when I ask for people to bring something. I mean, if it's over 20 people, I'm going to ask people to bring something. Otherwise, and you know this from entertaining, you start to develop certain recipes that you're like, I can make this for a large number. And it's just in your repertoire. So
we'll start with that, because a lot of my followers that I engage with frequently, they'll write me and it's usually about the dishes for a crowd. One of mine is baked ziti, chicken tetrazzini. What are some of your go-to dishes for a party, or more than 20?
I think you can do tacos for more than 20.
Yes.
I know you do ribs as well. I will do a huge ribs and chicken dinner.
Your ribs look amazing, by the way, Ruth.
They're great. Thank you. And so I've heard yours are incredible. I can do a brunch with my eyes closed with lots of chicken salads, quiche, that kind of thing. Pretty typical, I think.
Well, first, let me rewind a minute, because I meant to ask you this while we were on home. One thing that I loved that I saw, I believe it's in your kitchen, are the glass jars.
Yes.
And first of all, your cat is beautiful.
Thank you.
I have been looking for different shapes and sizes to do a display in my kitchen. Love that. There are just so many things that you've done that are practical and beautiful. Mention a few of your others. Framing your children's art. I mean, that's fabulous. Any other things, just things that we all might want to think about when we're decorating our own homes, something that is special?
You're referring to, so I have half my island is barnwood, the other half is marble. And on that, I have varying sizes of very large glass jars. I do a lot of baking. So one has flour, one has sugar, one has brown sugar, one has cookies that I've always made. Another one has a constant thing of nuts. So, and then if you go to my pantry, it's all giant glass jars from all my cookie cutters, chocolate chips, powdered sugar. I mean, it goes, on down the line. So glass jars I use for everything. I've got them in my laundry room. They have the pods plus the blue things you put in your dryer plus my oxy white. So I have them everywhere. I think they're beautiful. I think they look clean. So I do that. I collect breadboards. You can see right over here, I have a stack against the wall of breadboards. So I think to collect things that you love, I would encourage, one thing that the book does focus on is what creates a home is your family culture and your family traditions.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of go through what our traditions are throughout the year, because every family, I don't care who you are, you have a culture. So are you going to be intentional about it? Anyway, that's part of hanging the children's artwork. A lot of blankets. I have blankets everywhere. I love blankets. So in the barn, I've got plaid blankets draped all the way down the staircase. I mean, I just try to, anything that I think I would feel very cared for, I've tried to incorporate them into the house.
See, I love that. It makes me think again about some of the things. A lot of what I do is motivated by, well, let me finish this room or let me go, fill this space. But you're so intentional about it. And I love that. And it's inspiring me to be more intentional as well. Now, tell the listeners what you do for guests. You don't have a guest book.
We do. And I absolutely love it. We got this. It is a huge beam, and I had Bob put it up in the barn as though it's a mantle, and each guest burns their names. Originally, we had a knife, and they had to carve their names into it. I have so many kids here that didn't wind up being well, but we went and bought one of those burning things you can plug in, so everyone burns their names into the log. I love it.
Love that. Okay, so Ruth, tell me before we move to food, what is your favorite spot? Do you have your space where you do your quiet time, or just your favorite spot in the house?
I love my bedroom, and I love the kitchen.
I could find a million spots in your indoor and outdoor. It's just so beautiful.
Also, what we did in the barn, in the bathroom, we decided to make that our travel bathroom. So after every vacation or every adventure, we have a picture done on canvas, and from literally the ceiling all the way to the floor, on all the walls are pictures of our family adventures. So that's another one, I think.
Love that. Oh my goodness. Okay. Well, Ruth, I want to start our cooking discussion with something I absolutely loved. And I think that this speaks to just your personality and just your warmth. You talked about mistakes in the kitchen, make them memories and make them funny. Tell everyone about the turkeys.
Okay.
Yes, I love that. I love it.
We were having, I think, 45 people for Thanksgiving. And so we had 3 turkeys and a ham, and one was being fried. One I had brined all night, and I think we were smoking the other one. All 3 were not done at dinner. Like, they were raw when we cut them. And I think
That is
had been completely thawed. So it was a ham. I mean, that's what we
so
had.
everything failed but the ham, which
but
you had one of.
one ham. So it was like this. I always make so many sides, but to me, I think it was that example, that my mom taught me is it's not about perfection. It's not about performance. It's about making people feel comfortable in the mess and in the mistakes. And I think we had a fabulous laugh over it. I mean, after the initial panic and the let me go to bed now, it's become a great memory. So yeah.
I love that. I love it. Okay. Well, one thing that I love about the way you've done your recipes, the way you've put them throughout the book, is you've done a seasonal method of categorization. And I love that. I love cooking seasonally. I think that's something that if we cook seasonally, it's just going to be better. Whatever's, tomatoes in the summer are always going to be better than in the fall or winter. So I would just like to go through, and if you would like to maybe just talk about one of your favorite recipes each season, or if you just want to talk about a few. I've already bookmarked so many things that I'm going to try, and but I just want to hear what some of your favorites are.
Well, I think what made us do it seasonally is because I was attacking the subject of gardening as well as food.
Oh, yeah.
But I would say spring, I'm always throwing showers or luncheons. So for me, doing chicken salads or quiches, those are the favorite go-tos for the spring. It's anything that's a barbecue or a salad. So anything you're grilling, any great salad. In fact, we're going to throw a dinner party in a couple weeks, and we're going to do what is going to be your go-to summer dinner. And that's what we're going to make. We're going to come up with a menu for your go-to. And just no matter whether you're, a friend who spends the summer in Cape Cod or somebody who's stuck in the city in an apartment, anyone can have it if they have companies just stop by. So I would say that in the fall, I love ribs, cornbread, that whole, that's my fall.
We're kindred spirits. But when I read your recipes and I read how you write, I thought she is either a sister I've never known. I mean, I feel like we have such a kinship. Ribs, yes, that's one of my favorites. Now, your cornbread, oh my goodness, that will be my next.
Okay, you have to make it. I'm very picky about cornbread. I don't like it dry and crumbly at all. It's a little sweeter and a little more moist than what people probably are used to, but everyone that has it, it's become their favorite.
And the recipe is in the cookbook, but it has Bisquick and it has a pound. Is that correct? 2 sticks of butter.
So I also melt a stick on top of it when I
okay.
which I sometimes mixed with a little honey. So yes, there's a lot of butter in everything that I mean, a lot of things that I cook. So
well, and it's, you know what? It's okay on holidays and special occasions. I mean, we can't always worry about those things.
And I've got 5 kids. They like their butter.
Right. And that's true. You're feeding a lot of kids. So I think that's when you don't worry as much about all of that.
And then soup for the winter. I love soups and crusty bread and salad.
What is your favorite soup? Because I have not gotten to those yet. I'm looking at your arugula salad.
It's wonderful.
Oh my goodness. Okay, but tell me about your soup.
And by the way, back to the spring, the blueberry tart is phenomenal. And so are the chocolate chip.
Oh, let me say this. Everyone follow Ruth on Instagram. I saw you making those chocolate chip cookies.
Yes.
And I will say, I'm so impressed with the fact that before you froze the dough balls, you had them on one of your beautiful wooden dough boards. Mine's on a ratty little baking sheet. And I'm like, I've got to up my game. I need to.
No, that's okay. We have a place in the freezer. We just stick the board in till they freeze, and then we throw them all into a plastic bag. So
okay.
You pull them out when you want.
Yes, and those look fabulous. But while it's on my brain, and it will also be in the show notes, but your Instagram is Hungry for Home, at Hungry for Home.
At Hungry for Home, spell out FOR, Hungry for Home.
Right. Okay. So everyone, I highly encourage you because you'll see pictures of the farm.
I did a little video troubleshooting because I had so many people say mine don't taste the way yours do. So I kind of gave them a troubleshooting.
Well, and I totally agree. I have always frozen my cookie dough balls and underbake, always slightly underbake. Yeah, those are the 2 keys actually.
I've started doing it on convection at 375. So it browns the outside and leaves the inside more dough. So anyway.
I don't know that I've done that convection 375. Okay, I'll try that because that's new to me. Okay, and the blueberry tart looks fabulous. How many recipes are in the book, Ruth?
I think there's 83 or something like that.
Okay, well, I will just say your book is phenomenal. I'm going to order several copies just to give as gifts. Any woman of any age would love this book. Any man who appreciates beautiful things would love this book.
Any man who has a wife or has a mother or has a daughter coming.
Yeah, hostess gift. I mean,
it's a great price point for a hostess gift, I would say. And one of my friends said, but I'm a working mom. No, you're a homemaker. I don't care if you have to work outside of the home. You're still a homemaker. So it's working on creating a space of home. And that's what this book is.
Well, I think all of us in our own way, we're creating a home, an environment, and it's not all about decor. It's about so much more. And you touch on all of those things in this book. And I just highly recommend it. But for the recipes alone, 88 recipes, that's more than you'll find in many just cookbooks. But this is replete with so much that anyone who's wanting to create a welcoming home would want to see. But
and the last thing that I had done is there's gardening. And
ooh, yeah.
I'm not a gardener. I don't profess to be. I hate it actually.
Mm-hmm.
I used to choose homes that had a very small lot because I didn't want to handle the gardening. So after we got this property, I realized someone had to do it. And I just kind of give my story of how do you go from hating it to actually developing something that's beautiful.
Okay, I have not seen that yet. I haven't gotten to that, but could you tell us in a nutshell, because that is one thing that I've not even considered, because Ooh, I have no clue about it. How did you go from hating it to loving it? I mean, in a nutshell.
Love it, but I've appreciated what it adds to the home. And I didn't want my space to look like another main house in terms of, just another suburban cookie cutter, the way people have done it. And we have a lot of wood, so I wanted it to be wild and still manicured. So I had to figure out what lived on my property and what I wanted a very large herb garden. So Bob built me a very large herb garden that I've made into an English garden. So I have flowers, edible flowers also in it. So it's just been fun to create. I have a cutting garden. So I had Bob build me a cutting garden last year. So all the flowers that I love that I didn't necessarily put on the rest of the property, I put in there. I chose perennials and not annuals so that I wouldn't have to keep planting every year. So it's just little tips like that.
And all of those are in the book?
Are.
Well, Ruth, I am so grateful that we found each other and that I have access to this fabulous book. Now, I will be linking to all the resources that you've mentioned in the show notes. But can you tell us that this book is on Amazon? It is on your website, which is hungryforhome.com.
Home is www.hungry, the number 4.
Oh, the number 4.
Yeah,
Okay.
that's why I was clear with the Instagram is FOR. The
Okay.
website is number 4.
Okay.
Number 4, home.com is where the book can be ordered. And then Hungry FOR home is the Instagram. It's also on Amazon as well.
Well, I love it. Congratulations, because it's absolutely fabulous. So
Thank you. And you know what? I think I misspoke earlier. I think it's 53. It's closer to 50, not 80 in the recipes. So I just wanted to clarify that because I'm looking at it going, maybe I think that was 80. It's like 53. But anyways.
well, you know what? That's still a lot of recipes. That's a lot of recipes. And your photography is beautiful. Every recipe, I believe, has a picture.
It does.
Which that's so important, I think, to have a picture of what you're about to make. But I'm just so happy that I got to share you on the podcast and on the YouTube. So I hope that you'll be back. And one day, if I can ever make it to Pennsylvania, I want to come see you.
Please. And this has been a delight. I feel like I have a kindred spirit. So thank you.
Same here. Ruth, thank you so much.
Have a great day.
You too.